Please welcome to the stage Eric Loeb of Salesforce and Doreen Bogdan-Martin of the International Telecommunication Union.
So good to be here with you today, Doreen. And for everyone here, we're going to be talking some about AI and both the global challenges and the opportunities. And I know that there's been not a single conversation about that yet this week. But really, this is a wonderful opportunity because I can't think of a person who has a more complete view of what's going on around the world. And for those of you who don't know Doreen and know of her incredible experience and responsibility, I'm just going to take a moment just to ensure that you have an appreciation here. Doreen is now the Secretary General of the ITU, and that is built on just so much dedication and commitment to this institution. Doreen was elected last year really with a global mandate and received, I believe, 137 out of 170. Right around there. Right around that number of votes. I mean, in the current geopolitical environment, you can have a clear grasp of what that means. And where did that come from? From years of work leading the ITU's development sector. And that is such critical work for helping with capacity building and training and bringing together people from around the world, leading the strategic planning of the ITU. For over a decade, Doreen has been the executive director for the Broadband Commission for the advancement of the Sustainable Development Goals. And one of my favorite things, and this gets into kind of regulatory nerddom, but inspired the creation of the ITU's Global Symposium for Regulators, which really is this fantastic annual event where the regulators from all around the world are together, and together with other stakeholders as well, talking about what are the most pressing issues of the day, and it's really unique. So I just share all of that so that you have an appreciation that when we're talking here about topics of AI, if you want to find one person who has a sense of what is happening across about 180 countries, Doreen is where you go.
Thank you.
And so just pleased to be with you. So among many things that I didn't mention, but the ITU was founded in 1865.
Correct.
Took quite a long time for there to be the first woman to lead the ITU, and it's just phenomenal to have your leadership and all of your knowledge. Talk a bit about the ITU and AI. It's not new. You've been thinking about AI for a while, but it's increased in prominence. And just set the table a bit about how you're working on the matters.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Eric. So, ladies and gentlemen, I actually came today to see Elmo.
Yes.
I'm a big Elmo
both
fan.
of us.
You too. So you're not really here to see Eric and I. It's okay. Yeah, so ITU was created, as you said, back in 1865, all about the telegraph and trying to ensure telegraphic connections moving from one country to the next. And we went from the telegraph to the telephone to mobile phones, television, internet, and of course now it's all about AI. So we approach it from different angles. We have a core piece of our work which is linked to standards. So the technical standards piece, we have a number of focus groups that we call them focus groups that do kind of pre-standards. So in things like artificial intelligence and health, artificial intelligence and agriculture. So we start those discussions on that front. I would say the second piece where we're very engaged is on the policy front, because the ITU gathers its 193 member state, the ICT or the digital ministries. So convening those ministries, many of which actually have the scope and mandate for artificial intelligence, and of course the world's regulatory community, convening them, having discussions on things like artificial intelligence, new and emerging technologies. And I would say kind of the third area, and we started this in 2017, was the Artificial Intelligence for Good Summit. We started it with the intention to look at AI and what AI could do for the SDGs. It's been growing in importance, and we had a great summit this year in July, very focused on the solutions, but also quite focused on generative AI and the governance aspects linked to artificial intelligence.
Yeah, great. I mean, it has been amazing over this year to see how rapid the attention has grown. AI, of course, has been around for a long time, for decades, and the uses of predictive AI have been going on often in enterprise settings or the like, but as generative AI went consumer, went mass market in effect, the societal impact of that and then the political impact of that has just increased the very deserved attention that policymakers have as they think about not only the regulatory frameworks and some of the broader risks, but of course, how do you think about AI for impact, AI for good? And we started this week, actually, the high-level week. You had a very busy Sunday. I think you had something north of 10 speaking interventions on the day. You were hosting a very AI-focused SDG Digital Day. I'd be interested to hear what impressed you, what were your takeaways, your goals going in, and some of the things that you learned coming out.
Yeah, so this past weekend was SDG Action Weekend, and Sunday was the Acceleration Day. So we got together with UNDP, one of our partners, and we constructed something that was, I would say, quite ambitious. But I think we delivered. I think we went above and beyond our expectations. And we delivered something very focused on how you can use data, how you can leverage digital technologies to accelerate the SDGs. So it was all about accelerators. And as the UNSG has mentioned, he did again this morning when he opened the high-level debate, that we need a rescue plan because the SDGs are off track. And we look at, we're at the sort of halfway point. How can we win it in the second half? And what are the sort of key impact initiatives, the key focus areas that can help ensure that we can win it? So we firmly believe that digital technologies, and of course artificial intelligence in particular, can really help make a difference. And what was so incredible about Sunday was we were focused on the 17 SDGs. We delivered 17 solutions for each of the SDGs, and of course we also focused on the 2.6 billion people that have never ever connected to the internet. So we launched a digital acceleration agenda that's focused on the key enablers, the sort of non-technical pieces and the technical pieces. I think countries, companies can use that to help them, I think, advance more quickly. We believe if they put this in place, it will help to accelerate achieving some 70% of the targets, which is great. And in terms of specific highlights, some of the solutions were really cool. We had this ocean cleanup solution that's using artificial intelligence to find plastic in oceans. We had the rainforest connection that's looking at illegal logging. We looked at many things linked to climate, early warning systems, disaster response, and of course so many aspects linked to education and healthcare. But I think the solutions are very encouraging, and I would say, again, coming from the UN, I think the world needs hope, and I think artificial intelligence can bring us a lot of hope. Definitely there are risks. We need to manage those risks. We need to figure out the best governance framework. The UNSG spoke this morning about his high-level panel that he's putting together and how the UN can be used to convene and exchange experiences on the best type of governance, be it guardrails, be it commitments, but we do need to keep in mind those serious and real ethical transparency issues, privacy issues, security issues linked to AI. But the good part is real.
Yeah, it is. And at the same time, a point that you've just made that really requires to be underlined is that the duty that everybody across the different AI ecosystem, different use cases, different solutions, just has to take on the responsibility to be responsible, to be ethical, because the technology is moving very fast. I think there's more recognition with this cycle of technology of the need to lean in to these areas of trust. But at the same time, that's going to move much faster than legislation or regulation or multilateral solutions to it. Does not mean that you either wait for that, but you have to figure out some concentric circles or glide paths of internal governance, your architecture, your acceptable use policies, your voluntary commitments on a glide path towards some more norms that are interoperable.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, I think we also have to remember that in these discussions, which are happening everywhere this week here in New York, I think we have to remember that we have to be inclusive about those discussions. We have to be multi-stakeholder, and as I said, 2.6 billion people never ever been connected. There is a big gap, and with artificial intelligence, I think we also risk creating new gaps. I think we need to bring more women into AI. We need to ensure that developing countries and countries that have less technological know-how, that we work with them, we provide capacity development support, we work with the regulators, the policymakers, so that we can have all voices at the table.
It's absolutely critical. It is true. In these conversations, particularly as something moving this fast, it is a set of stakeholders much wider than just government, than just business, and there's a wide variety with AI of business types as well, but civil society and academics. Can you come back to something that you just touched on, but to me it feels incredibly important? All of this is stacks that builds on each other, and you've been dedicated for so long to the work to reduce the digital divide. But you know, AI is built on data. Data has a foundation of connectivity. How are you thinking about this? While it has the power of democratizing so many things and access to knowledge, we have these fundamental building blocks that we can't lose sight of.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think we have to approach it at different levels, and we can't overlook the infrastructure piece that still requires investment. Our numbers say that to connect the unconnected, just the infrastructure piece would be somewhere around 400 billion. But of course, the connection alone is not enough. We have to think about devices, device affordability, skill building, capacity development, content, local languages. There's a whole kind of ecosystem that also needs to be put in focus. But maybe if I could also turn it to you, I mean, how do you see this moving forward in terms of, you know, where does Salesforce see this going in the future?
Yeah, well, first, it's moving fast.
Yes.
And so whatever it is that we think is the truth today, I assure you next week and next month,
yes,
it will be changed. And that's why I do come back to some of those core values that have to be your North Star and guide your work when there is so much change and so much speed. And we always do come back to the core values of Salesforce of trust, customer success, innovation, equality, sustainability, and they have to be there. Mm-hmm. And you have to be integrated in your approach across your teams that do ethical use, that think about equality, that think about the chief scientist role, the public policy role. That is foundational for all of this, and listening quite a lot. That's what's exciting to me this week. We have all the risks that we've talked about. I'm very interested as well to hear the ideas on impact and to keep an eye on both of those targets in some balance.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the impact, that's where we want to be focusing. I mean, we want to see the impact on schools, on school connectivity. We want to see the impact on healthcare. We want to see the impact on creating more food stability, on agriculture. I mean, basically on every single sector, on every single one of those goals, as we wear our SDG pins.
Fantastic. Well, we have a lot of work to do, as we all know. As Doreen has said before, if we were looking at this from a business standpoint at the halfway point in the game, at being with only 12% of the SDGs on target, we need all the help we can get. Your entire commitment on Sunday was to inspire people that we can make a difference. It's not always getting it all done at once. Sometimes it is just the aggregation of marginal gains. But I just want to thank you again for your inspiration, your unbelievable cadence of activity that you maintain, and for all that you do around the world and the way you have just built bridges and built trust with people everywhere. So, Doreen, thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I end with an Elmo quote?
Please.
Okay. If we keep practicing, we can do anything. So let's keep going. We can do it. Thank you.
We have a photo op with Elmo backstage.
Thank you. Thank you.
Doreen.
Thank you.